Hey there, Fifth Street Baptist Church family and friends. I hope that you all had a great weekend. We had a wonderful Sunday of worship. It was exciting to gather on Sunday morning with a full congregation. And then we met up at First Baptist Church, Big Pine Key for our annual Keys Association meeting. Celebrated all that God did and has done and is doing in the Florida Keys. We had a great dinner together. It really is exciting to gather with our brothers and sisters from our Southern Baptist churches up and down the Keys, of which now we have 12 churches. And so it's really exciting to see how God's at work and giving fruit and blessing our churches here in the Keys. It is an exciting time to be here, an exciting time to be a part of what God is doing. So we have been serving here at Fifth Street Baptist Church for a little bit over 6 years. And two things were laid on my heart while we were here and serving. Both of those had to do with leadership development. And so when I got here, the church also hired Brandon Rodriguez to serve as our music leader. And then I quickly invited him to join our team also to serve as the office administrator. And so for 6 years, he's been fulfilling those roles. A couple years into our process, Brandon and I began to see that God was doing a special work in his life and was perhaps calling him to serve in the pastoral ministry. About 3 years ago, we committed to the process of raising him up to be a pastor. Soon after that, he came into the role as pastoral resident. I've been meeting with Brandon weekly, giving him opportunities to not only lead in musical worship, but to preach, teach the Bible, to lead small groups. He's come to understand the ways and the ministries of the pastor. Over 6 years, we've seen God really raise him and grow him up. Since then, of course, he's been married to Elizabeth, and that was a wonderful marriage ceremony that we celebrated together last year. Just coming up on their 1-year anniversary here in a couple months, and man, the time has flown by. So we've seen Brandon mature, and I've seen God use him to produce some pretty amazing spiritual fruit in the lives of the people here at Fifth Street and on our island. It is now time for Brandon to be ordained to the gospel ministry. We licensed him a short time ago, raised him up and help him to grow in his ministry. So it's now time for him to be ordained. And so on Saturday night, October 19th at 6:00 p.m., we're going to have the ordination service, and that's the time when we as a church set him apart and ordain him for the gospel ministry. Once the church moves and follows the Lord to call the new pastor, then the new pastor and our leadership team will decide how Brandon will fit in that on the staff through his role as a pastor, whether that's an associate pastor or pastor of worship leadership. You'll work that out together to decide where he'll settle in his role here on the staff. For now, as his pastor and as the pastor at Fifth Street, I think it's time for him to be ordained and for us to recognize that God has called him into that service. And so we're going to be doing that on Saturday night, October 19th at 6:00 p.m. right in our worship center. So make sure you're here at 6 on Saturday night, October 19th. Now, additionally, the deacons and I have been praying for about 2 years for God to send us qualified men to serve in the role of deacon. We have had godly men serve in that role, and of course, their wives have come alongside them to minister to the needs of our people. We have had faithful men do that for decades, and what we've come to know is we have a pretty quickly growing church. We needed more deacons to step up and serve in that role. And so we began praying about 2 years ago for God to send us qualified men to do that. And we have a faithful God, right? He always fulfills his promises. And we are thankful that our God has answered our prayer, and he has sent us several men who have walked through the role over the past few months of deputy deacon. So a deputy deacon is a man we feel would be qualified to serve in that role, who then comes alongside a deacon serving as a ordained called deacon in our church. And then over time, as we watch them, as we test them, as we see God produce fruit, we've come to recognize that these men are prepared now to be ordained to the deacon ministry. And so on Sunday night, October 13th, that's this coming Sunday at 6:00 p.m. during the regular time of our Sunday evening worship service, we are going to set apart and ordain several men to the deacon ministry. And so please be here. Now, if you can make it, we'd love to also see you tomorrow night on Wednesday for the Q&A and the sharing of the testimonies of these deacon deputies. So be here at 6 o'clock on Wednesday night, first for the Q&A and the sharing of the testimonies. And then on Sunday night, as we have the special worship service where we recognize God's calling on their lives and set them apart for the ministry of deacon at Fifth Street Baptist Church. As you can see, God is doing a great work here at Fifth Street Baptist Church. He is answering prayers. He is setting aside men and women to do amazing ministry. And now, especially, we'll be recognizing Brandon, ordained him in the pastoral ministry as he continues to serve in his current role, and then several men who are going to be ordained to serve in the role of deacon. So please be here for those dates and to celebrate with us as God has been faithful in sending leaders to Fifth Street Baptist Church to continue in his gospel ministry. We'll be praying for you. If you have any special needs as we await Hurricane Milton, which I think is going to pass to our north. So we're praising God for that, but also praying for our brothers and sisters up in the Tampa, Orlando region who will get the brunt of this hurricane. If you have any special needs, please reach out to our office or reach out to your deacon. We'll make sure to meet those as we are able. God bless you, church. I hope you have an amazing week. I look forward to seeing you on Wednesday night at 6 o'clock for our Q&A and testimonies with our deacons, and then worship and Sunday school on Sunday morning. God bless you, and I look forward to seeing you again soon.